Today we're talking about this month's Emblem banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. We'll also briefly go through the 11 other heroes available to summon. Emblem Sigurd is hitting the ground running. He's here to share immense mobility with anyone he engages with. Sigurd's Emblem Ring has 3 effects. First off, it boosts special damage by the number of spaces moved by the initiator times 2. This maxes out at +8 damage if the initiator moves 4 spaces. As usual, this should count warping too. For the second effect, Sigurd grants Canto 3 to melee units and Canto 2 to ranged units, one of the best skills to get from Sigurd in Engage. Last up, to no surprise, Sigurd grants the +1 movement status to the holder every turn. Surprisingly, there is some attempt at balancing, and that's ranged Cavaliers do not get this extra movement. Generally speaking, mobility is just too strong, as proven by our last Emblem Ring, and if Warp Bubble is troubling you, then Sigurd can offer another way to get to the enemy quickly. While warping is good, +1 movement gives freedom to move anywhere, and Sigurd's giving very strong counter effects to any unit. Imagine Marnie moving 2 spaces and then running away 3 spaces. That's pretty dumb. This ring will also be incredible for the new Shadow Shift. Canto 3 is definitely enough to make some wild repositioning plays. Hope you got your Canto control and stall at gravity inflictors because Sigurd's gonna open up some crazy mobility. As a unit, Emblem Sigurd will be a Lance Cavalier, sorry Tiffing, too many swords. For stats, Sigurd appears to have 41 HP, 48 attack, 37 speed, 47 defense, and 17 res. A Lance Cavalry tradition, just dump res and try not to look at it. For old skills, Sigurd has attack and defense excel, which is still fairly new. It only came out with Eikthrunir. Sigurd's other skill is Fatal Smoke 4. I believe Legendary Sigurd was the first to have Fatal Smoke 3, and surprisingly, it's just a skill they really don't hand out that much. The Tier 4 has an anti-miracle effect, so if a certain miracle army unit is a problem, then Sigurd's trying to give everyone a hint. Fatal Smoke also disables healing, although the popular Breath of Life 4 cuts that down to half healing. Heidr's Divine Nectar straight up hard counters Fatal Smoke and Deep Wounds, so yeah, it's not going to work against her. For his weapon, Sigurd has, I believe, his Brave Lance, except they threw the Brave Lance part out. Holy War Spear is a 16-might weapon that grants a new Gallop status every turn. Sigurd has Canto 3 with Sling. If initiating or within 2 spaces of an ally, Sigurd will get bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on him times 3. If 3 foes are in range, Sigurd can get up to max +14 to all stats. In addition, Sigurd gets true damage equal to 20% defense, and this applies to AoE Specials. He has 50% DR piercing on every attack during combat, and he heals 7 HP after combat. The Gallop status is simply +2 movement. Accurate to engage, Sigurd has game-breaking movement, and he's breaking rules in Fae to move 5 spaces just at base. Like his ring, Sigurd also has Canto 3. He then has a fairly standard set of perks: Slang, DR Piercing, General Stat Boost, and some after combat sustain. Combat-wise, nothing special here, but Sigurd's going to be zooming across the map. Emblem Sigurd's engage attack is Override, and in Fae, it's being turned into a 3 cooldown area effect special. It has a 3x3 box range, but the edges start near the target. It has the same damage as the Blazing Specials, so Sigurd's attack minus the foe's defense times 1.5. New mechanic: if Override tags 2 or more foes, then Sigurd gets another action, once per turn. In combat, if a special has been triggered before or during combat, then Sigurd gets unpierceable 40% damage reduction for the next attack. In Engage, Override is a very cool move that can pass through multiple lined-up enemies. You can also defeat multiple foes with this move. In Fae, the AoE will simulate the ability to hit multiple enemies, and the extra action will let Sigurd defeat 2 enemies in 1 turn. It also just lets him fire off another Override, so a little bit of power creep. With the 3x3 box range, Sigurd should easily get another turn unless foes are super solo, and he has 5 movement to make plays while also having Canto 3 to retreat after potentially a second Override. Just to give Sigurd even more power, he has 40% DR. If Override triggered, Sigurd gets this effect, which can potentially save him from Vantage, or if he needs to get a double tap for the enemy phase. Just a very strong special to give to a 5 movement unit. For Sigurd's new inheritable B skill, he is bringing over Momentum from Engage. If unit or foe initiates while moving to a different space, then inflict -4 attack and defense on the foe, grant a free follow-up attack, and deal true damage equal to the number of spaces moved times 4. This has a max of 20 true damage for moving 5 spaces, and it will also apply to AoE Specials. For the second part of the skill, if unit initiates after moving to a different space, then grant instant cooldown to both AoE Specials and offensive specials before the unit's first attack. If you move 3 spaces, the unit gets -2 cooldown. For 1 or 2 spaces, you still get -1 instant cooldown. Momentum is a very interesting new skill. First off, at its core, it's a free follow-up skill for either phase, and it adds true damage for moving. In Engage, this applied to initiating, but this will be lumped in with the Clash or Excel condition that works on both phases. Big thing to note is that the true damage applies to AoE specials, and guess who can move 5 spaces with an AoE? Since Override is a 3 cooldown special, it's 2 cooldown with Slaying. Momentum will give -2 instant cooldown before the AoE procs, which is a brand new mechanic. All Sigurd needs to do is move 3 spaces. With his 5 movement, Sigurd can give himself enough cooldown to proc Override, though for the second one you may need to move more if he, say, faces guard in combat. Still, Momentum is an incredible new cooldown tool for Cavaliers. I'm not sure which other classes are going to get this skill, but melee cows for sure. Definitely worth keeping an eye on, and just like with Emblem Ike and Lagu's friend, there is innate synergy with Sigurd's Ring and Momentum. That means getting 2 copies, although Momentum should work with Warping. You can always substitute in Emblem Celica instead. Emblem Sigurd's going to join Celica in creating mass chaos with new movement skills. Sigurd himself would just be a 5 movement Cavalier who can get instant cooldown for his unique AoE that does the same damage as Blazing. He will tack on extra damage with 20% defense from his weapon and then up to 20 true damage via Momentum. Both of those will also apply to Sigurd's basic attack, and he has 50% DR piercing to finish the job. Momentum gives a free follow-up, Override has 40% unpierceable DR, and Excel adds some flat DR on top. Sigurd also has Fatal Smoke 4 for anti-healing and Miracle. After combat, if Sigurd tagged 2 enemies with Override, he gets to go again. This can mean a second Override AoE, or you can just retreat with the 5 movement. If you go for round 2, he has Natural Canto 3 to escape after. Overall, just an incredible unit. Sigurd will potentially have some issues against AoE % DR, such as from Divine Vein Stone or Goto's 80% DR status. In those scenarios, he may need to double tap the same enemy, but this is where Fatal Smoke can be crucial to cut down on Breath of Life 4 healing spam. Sigurd also just has very high defense to counter Breath of Life's scaling in general. At the moment, I don't think anything can stop Momentum charging Override. If Sigurd doesn't die, Content Control won't stop his extra action either. Now, imagine 2 Sigurds on a team. If the enemy doesn't have AoE protection, it's kinda just over, and you already know people are gonna give Celica's Ring to this Sigurd, so he can warp over stuff too. All in all, Emblem Sigurd is for sure gonna be a nasty unit. His ring gives free movement and Canto, so as per usual, it's kinda just a must-have for any serious players. Can't wait to see what units are gonna be running around with all the extra mobility. Moving on to the rest of the banner, the red group's going to have Emblem Marth with legendary Hinoka and Yuri. Blue has the new Sigurd with the most recent emblem, Celica. Fittingly, Lumera is back to engage with Sigurd once again. For green, Heidr and Sept will be joined by attuned Micaiah. Colorless has Gullveig to complete the trio, and she's paired with legendary Guinivere and Fallen Veyle. Emblem Marth is a speedy sword infantry. Marth's emblem ring grants slang, which can alter builds drastically, so definitely good to have. As a unit, this Marth abuses Potent's extra attack by having Desperation for either phase. This means if Marth is fast enough, he hits 3 times in a row, and should Lodestar Rush trigger, the Potent hit will deal full damage. Marth has no guard and 50% DR piercing, so he can dish out some damage, plus he has multiple % DR skills. For fodder, attack and speed finish adds some true damage and healing if specials are ready, and infantry no fall of 4 can buff the team when the user. Next up is legendary Hinoka, a flying red archer. Her unique C skill grants breath type cooldown support and charge to flying allies specifically. It's also a speed, defense, and res crux, although no free fall apart, and it's only going to work against non-flyers. From her weapon, Hinoka has Slang, Armor Effectiveness, Offense in the follow-up, and a sweep effect for outspeeding. She has Canto 1 to retreat. For fodder, Hinoka has Tank Speed Catch 4 and the rarer Wings of Mercy 4. Since we just got another Bernie who can hurt the team, she can trigger the 3 range warp part of the tier 4. Last red unit is legendary Yuri, who's an offensive red dagger infantry. Yuri's niche is all about tricky mobility with his +1 movement and Canto 2. It's not like the new emblem ring gives all range units those same effects. Still, Yuri has anti-stall to actually move 2 spaces all the time. His C skill can also act as an Omni Rain for -4 debuffs. To stand out, Yuri will have his unique Foul Play Assist skill, which is a 3 range swap. You can't take that away from him just yet. His weapon will have Slaying, Offense in the follow-up, true damage, 30% DR. For fodder, Yuri has Attack and Speed Hexblade for the adaptive damage, and the somewhat okay Seal Speed 4. Onto the blue group, Emblem Sigurd has 2 rare skills in Attack and Defense Excel and Fatal Smoke 4, both useful. However, he'll be the only way to get momentum, which seems quite strong, especially with Sigurd's ring. You can get momentum 4 with one of the other skills, but not all 3 at once. To double up on mobility, Emblem Celica is back. Her emblem ring grants warping to the nearest space within 5 spaces, and it boosts special damage based on cooldown. As a unit, Celica is a blue infantry mage and has a better 6-range warp thanks to Ragnarok. It charges itself every turn, and carrying magic then gives -1 instant cooldown before her follow-up attack. With built-in desperation, Celica can proc her special back to back, and Resonance 4 gives Celica DR piercing and true damage at the cost of HP. For other skills, Verge of Death can negate at start of turn debuffs or panic, and Infantry No Follow ensures Celica doubles if she outspeeds. 2 emblems in the same group is always incredibly tempting. Now, our third blue unit is Light Mythic Lumera, Blue Infantry Dragon. Nice to see her with Sigurd, although, ironically, Lumera's C-skill can deploy Divine Vein Stone, which gives 50% DR against AoE specials. Sigurd might punch through that, but this is one way to counter AoE specials. Dragon Monarch also gives +4 stats with no guard to allies, not a very common support perk. For her own combat, Lumera has Slaying, True Damage, 4% DR, Guard, and another 30% DR via her C-skill. She's not that old, but Lumera is still the only way to get Attack and Speed Scowl and Attack and Speed Ruse 4. A Scowl skill not boosting res is a little but Ruse 4 is neat, and Lumera has a dual rally to inherit with it. For the most part, if you want Emblem Sigurd, this is a very good time to try for him. Another emblem up for grabs, and Lumera can provide a Divine Vein, which may be enticing for fortification builds. For the green group, Astromythic Heidr is back. She's a green infantry mage who has a unique rally that powers up for 4 turns. By turn 4, it grants +8 attack and speed, Canto 1, Treachery, and Dual Strike. Heidr gains these same buffs, she gets to move again, and her weapon acts like a ruse to go with the rally. If you set up correctly, Dual Strike can be very nasty with its brave attacks. Now for other effects, Heidr has Slaying, True Damage, 30% DR, and Magic No Follow gives her half DR piercing with no follow. She has Remote Spell for more DR, and Panic Smoke 4 for fun enemy phase debuffs. Now, joining Heidr will be our free Book 7 unit, Astromythic Seidr. She's a green mage cav. Her C-skill is a little overshadowed by her dual ult, but Seidr can prevent foes from acting on odd turns if she has higher res. This only affects the closest foe in a line, and the res check is higher the farther Seidr is from the enemy. For other support effects, Seidr gives a fall prevention status. To be honest, not a bad effect if fast units don't want to be respectful. For combat, Seidr has Slaying, a free follow-up, and True Damage. She has Stillwater 4 and Chill Attack and Res 3 to activate her C-skill. This chill is still only on Seidr. Our last green unit is attuned to Micaiah, who's been pretty strong. She's a flying green mage that dumps speed fully this time. Her B skill debuffs the foe with the highest of each stat by -7 respectively, and adds exposure and discord while also spreading out 2 spaces for each target. For other support effects, Micaiah heals 10 HP to nearby allies every enemy phase. She has Guidance 4's 2-space warp for all unit types. After start of turn effects trigger on enemy phase, Micaiah cleanses 2 status effects on herself and nearby allies. Plus, she harsh commands any debuffs. For combat, Micaiah has armor and cav effectiveness, Slaying, neutralizes attack and res debuffs, and deals true damage based on allies in Crux range. From her B skill, Micaiah inflicts attack and res debuffs equal to the total number of stat penalties on nearby foes, and she has 50% DR piercing. To get a free follow-up with her debuffs, Micaiah has attack and res Crux. She also has Firefly Boost 3. For her attuned X skill, Micaiah has Fartre's Echo, which always gives Canto 1. It's not Emblem Sigurd's ring, but still a great option for Canto. This Micaiah is very good, so definitely a solid pickup. For the Colorless group, Anima Mythic Gullveig is back. She's a colorless mage cav. If her Time is Light special triggers, Gullveig gets an extra action, though she can only move 1 space. Her weapon grants an extra action as well, though it's on a 2-turn cooldown. For combat, Gullveig has Slaying, no follow-up, 70% DR, no guard, and some healing. She has the Flared Sparrow plus Occultist Strike combo, and you can also pick up Defensive Smoke 3 for Pathfinder. Gullveig can attack a lot, but she's fully reliant on her percent DR to survive. Next is Legendary Guinivere, a colorless infantry mage. Guinivere's C-skill offers 7 HP sustain within 3 spaces, and she'll get +5 stats and breath type cooldown. From her weapon, she has Slaying, the super rare mage effectiveness, True Damage, Flat DR, guard and disables adaptive damage. For fodder, you can get Speed and Rest Finish 4 and No See Distant 4, which has that 30% DR and some debuffs added on. Last unit for today is Fallen Veyle, Colorless Infantry Mage with very high attack and res, but also some defense. This Veyle C skill is just better than her mythic form. It adds scout support to the first attack and follow-up attacks, meaning Veyle can stop someone like Emblem Celica from getting any specials. Veyle also grants some stats and 30% DR, so very nice support. For her own combat, Veyle has Slaying, attack and res debuffs, breath type cooldown, and if she has 10 or more res, she gets brave attacks. To make those hits sting, Veyle has attack and res tempo 4 for the half DR piercing, and she's the only unit with crystalline water, which is the still water upgrade. Do note, Fallen Veyle's scout on follow-ups only works against ranged units. With skills like Momentum or Creation Pulse, the instant cooldown fights are getting more and more complex. Stacking Scout can be overkill, but it's also a legitimate option against some of these crazy new skills. That'll be it for this banner breakdown. I just spent all my orbs plus sending Brave Alphonse, so I don't know if I can get Sigurd, but I would like a copy. The emblems are just way too powerful because of their rings. Let me know your thoughts on the new emblem hero. Good luck to those that plan to summon, and good luck to everyone because, oh boy, more mobility shenanigans are coming. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.